Hey fans, have you ever found yourself in the middle of a storm feeling both awestruck and terrified? Storms, a natural spectacle that can elicit both wonder and fear. They form when warm, moist air rises and meets cooler air, setting the stage for a dramatic display of nature's power. From thunderstorms, blizzards, hurricanes to cyclones, each type of storm carries its unique characteristics and destructive capabilities. Now, imagine the most powerful storms ever recorded. Starting our countdown at number 10, we have the Great Hurricane of 1780. This monstrous storm is one of the deadliest Atlantic hurricanes on record. Roaring into life in October of 1780, it rampaged across the Caribbean with an unrelenting fury. From Barbados to Puerto Rico, no island in its path was spared. The hurricane's winds were so powerful that they stripped bark from trees. The storm surge, a wall of water pushed by the hurricane, was equally devastating, swallowing up coastal communities. It's estimated that the Great Hurricane claimed between 22,000 and 27,000 lives, making it one of the deadliest in history. This hurricane, with its unparalleled power and deadly toll, serves as a sobering reminder of the destructive potential of nature. It's a stark testament to why we must respect and understand these meteorological phenomena. The Great Hurricane of 1780, a storm that left an unforgettable mark on history. Moving forward to number 9, we have the 1935 Labor Day Hurricane. This storm, also known as the Florida Keys Hurricane, is remembered as one of the most intense hurricanes to ever make landfall in the United States. It began as a tropical disturbance near the Bahamas, quickly intensifying as it moved towards Florida. On Labor Day, September 2, 1935, it struck the Florida Keys with a vengeance. With winds reaching up to 200 miles per hour and a storm surge of about 20 feet, it left the islands in ruins. The town of Islamorada was practically wiped off the map, and the overseas railroad, which once connected the Keys to mainland Florida, was destroyed beyond repair. The hurricane claimed between 400 to 600 lives, many of them World War I veterans working on the construction of the overseas highway. It was a tragic day for Florida, a day that would be remembered for generations to come. The Labor Day Hurricane, a storm that changed Florida forever. At number 8, we have Super Typhoon Tip. This behemoth of a storm, the largest and most intense tropical cyclone ever recorded, made its mark in October 1979. Born out of an area of disturbed weather near Micronesia, Tip rapidly intensified, its swirling winds reaching a peak intensity of a staggering 190 miles per hour. The storm's path was a destructive journey across the western Pacific. The Mariana Islands took the first hit, with Guam suffering extensive damage. The storm then headed towards Japan, its powerful winds and torrential rain causing widespread destruction and loss of life. Super Typhoon Tip's sheer size and intensity were unprecedented. Its diameter stretched over 1,380 miles. That's nearly half the size of the United States. This storm not only caused devastation, but also redefined our understanding of what a typhoon could be. Super Typhoon Tip, a storm that redefined our understanding of typhoons. Coming in at number 7, we have the 1900 Galveston Hurricane. This devastating storm, also known as the Great Storm of 1900, is one of the deadliest in U.S. history. It made its catastrophic landfall in Galveston, Texas on the 8th of September, 1900. The storm surge reached up to 15 feet, swallowing up the city whose average elevation was less than 9 feet. Homes, businesses, and lives were swept away in an instant. The winds, estimated at over 120 miles per hour, ripped buildings from their foundations, leaving behind a city in ruins. This hurricane took the lives of an estimated 6,000 to 12,000 people, marking it as the deadliest natural disaster ever to hit the United States. The catastrophic impact on Texas was felt for decades, drastically altering the state's development. The 1900 Galveston Hurricane, a storm that still haunts Texas. At number 6, we have the Bola Cyclone. This tempestuous titan tore across the Bay of Bengal back in November of 1970. Its path was a deadly one, leading it straight into the heart of Bangladesh. The Bola cyclone was no ordinary storm, it was a tropical cyclone, and it was one of the deadliest of its kind. The cyclone's fierce winds and torrential rains swept across the land, leaving destruction in its wake. It did not discriminate, wreaking havoc on cities and rural areas alike. The devastation was unparalleled, with an estimated 500,000 lives tragically lost. Entire communities were swept away, leaving survivors with nothing but memories of their homes and loved ones. The Bola cyclone was not only a meteorological phenomenon, but it also became a symbol of the vulnerability of Bangladesh to the impacts of climate change. This storm served as a tragic reminder of nature's destructive power, yet it also precipitated significant changes in disaster management in the region. The Bola cyclone, a storm that brought unparalleled devastation to Bangladesh. At number 5, we have Hurricane Andrew. This Category 5 hurricane, with a name as innocent as Andrew, belied its true destructive nature. Born in the deep, warm waters of the Atlantic in late August of 1992, it was a storm that would go down in history. As it tore a path through the Bahamas, it only gained more strength before making landfall in Florida. In the blink of an eye, it obliterated communities with winds reaching a devastating 175 miles per hour. From Florida, it traced a path of destruction across the Gulf of Mexico to finally dissipate over the southern United States. In its wake, Andrew left behind a staggering $26 billion in damages, making it one of the costliest hurricanes in U.S. history. But beyond the financial cost, it was the human toll and the shock to our system that marked this storm's legacy. Hurricane Andrew, a storm that pushed the limits of our storm preparedness. Moving to number 4, we have the 1970 Ancash earthquake and avalanche. Not exactly a storm, but this natural disaster in Peru was storm-induced, leading to one of the deadliest avalanches in history. On May 31, 1970, a powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.9 on the Richter scale struck the Ancash region. The quake shook the northern slopes of Mount Huascaran, causing a chunk of glacier and rock, about half a mile wide, to break off and hurtle down the mountain. This avalanche of ice, mud, and rock, moving at an estimated speed of 200 miles per hour, decimated the towns of Yungay and Ranrahirka. In less than 3 minutes, nearly the entire Yungay population was wiped out, with an estimated death toll of about 20,000 people. The Ancash earthquake and the subsequent avalanche is still considered one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in the history of Peru. The Ancash earthquake and avalanche, a storm-induced disaster that shook Peru to its core. At number 3, we have Cyclone Nargis. This cyclone, a relentless force of nature, carved a path of destruction through Myanmar in early May of 2008. Originating in the Bay of Bengal, Nargis swept across the southern parts of the country, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The cyclone's potent winds and heavy rainfall led to severe flooding, and the resulting storm surge wreaked havoc on the low-lying delta region. The damage was substantial, with thousands of homes destroyed, infrastructure wiped out, and entire communities displaced. The storm's aftermath was equally devastating, with a lack of access to clean water, food, and medical aid severely affecting the survivors. Despite the challenging conditions, the people of Myanmar displayed immense resilience, coming together to rebuild their lives and their country. With an estimated death toll of over 138,000, Nargis remains one of the deadliest cyclones in recorded history. Cyclone Nargis, a storm that tested the resilience of Myanmar. At number 2, we have Hurricane Katrina. This devastating storm made its mark in late August of 2005, as it carved a path of destruction across the Gulf Coast of the United States. Originating over the Bahamas, it strengthened into a Category 5 hurricane over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Katrina's effects were felt far and wide, but it was the city of New Orleans that bore the brunt of its wrath. The city's defenses were woefully inadequate against Katrina's might. The storm surge breached levees, leading to catastrophic flooding that submerged about 80% of the city. The disaster claimed over 1,000 lives and caused an estimated $125 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. But Katrina did more than just destroy property. It exposed deep-seated social and economic inequalities and the inadequacy of the country's disaster preparedness and response. Hurricane Katrina, a storm that exposed the vulnerability of even the most developed nations. Finally, at number 1, we have the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. This catastrophic event was triggered by a massive undersea earthquake off the west coast of northern Sumatra. The earthquake, one of the strongest ever recorded, unleashed a series of powerful waves that radiated across the Indian Ocean at high speeds. Countries all around the ocean's rim felt the devastating impact. Thailand, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, and the Maldives were among the most severely affected. The tsunami claimed the lives of an estimated 230,000 to 280,000 people, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. Entire cities were wiped out, families torn apart, and economies devastated. The aftermath was a scene of utter destruction and despair, with millions displaced and communities in ruins. Efforts to rebuild and recover continue to this day. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, a storm that reminded us of the unstoppable force of nature. From the Great Hurricane of 1780 to the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, these storms have left an indelible mark on our world. They've swept across continents, decimated cities, and forever changed lives. The relentless power of the 1935 Labor Day hurricane, the vast reach of Super Typhoon Tip, the haunting devastation of Hurricane Katrina, each storm a testament to nature's untamed might. These storms serve as a stark reminder of nature's power and our need to respect it. Knowledge is key.